expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Friday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig, Ty Bartell next to me, and we have a lot of football to break down on a Friday. But before we get to that, Ty, we got to go to football and talk to one of the best girls soccer players in the area, Kara English, going into her junior season, and already 100 goals plus. Wow.
Another 4-goal performance against Springfield, too. And let's talk about this season to start off, Kara, and talk about that game. Another big win that you guys had on the season, too. You guys seem like you're rolling into this year. What kind of confidence are you guys playing with, too? And talk about this season inside the locker room a little bit.
We've been working hard all summer. We all have a goal to win the league and go far in tournaments. A goal for all of us has always been to beat Springfield. They beat us bad by the last few years, so it was a big goal to beat Springfield. So it felt real good to beat them, but now we're just focused on next week's games. And
coming into this season, I think everyone in the girls soccer realm kind of knew who you were, and everyone that you play was going to circle you a couple of times and make sure that, they try to slow you down. What's it been like so far, knowing that you're going to be on the scouting report and going into games, knowing that, your teammates have your back, other players are scoring goals, and that you can kind of, go and just do your thing?
It's fine for me if they double team me, because that means there's somebody open. So it kind of just helps us as a team when they do double team.
Your love for this sport, though, I know this is 1A sport for you, too. I'm curious on when it started, too. When did you first find yourself falling in love with the sport, and what's your earliest memory playing the sport of soccer?
Well, I started when I was around 4. I always remember just loving it. I just remember playing with all my friends, and it was a lot of fun.
We've asked you this before during basketball season. You're an ultimate competitor when you step on the floor, step on the court, or on the field. There's a mindset that comes to you that says, I'm going to beat you no matter who's in front of me. Where do you think that comes from, and how do you kind of flip the switch between your normal personality and then the personality that you put on when you put on a uniform?
I'm really competitive, and I like to win. So when I was younger and stuff, playing against my brother, it's always been real competitive, and I think he's really helped me when it comes to and my sister too, when it comes to playing in games, just my competitiveness and wanting to win.
I got some questions too from unnamed sources. We'll leave them at that as well too. But about your competitiveness, was it anything about the elementary gym teacher that used to beat you in dodgeball? Was there something about that made you really competitive going forward?
Yeah, he's a sore loser because I don't ever remember him beating us. But yeah, that was really competitive.
There's some shade getting thrown on. I don't know who it's from, but there's something going on. Carol, when we talk about, how much success you've had in your career, it makes you a role model to the young players, and not just in the Waterloo system, but probably in the soccer community. What's that mean to you to know that there are girls looking up to you right now, especially in the sport of soccer that is growing so rapidly?
Yeah, I mean, it feels good because I used to look up to a lot of high schoolers when I was younger. So it kind of just feels good that there's people in my place looking up to me now.
I know too. There's countless times of you trying to help out a lot of foreign exchange students as well, because that's a huge program over there in Waterloo. And I mean, it speaks, I think, a huge part in your leadership too. Going into this junior season now, you're an upperclassman for these sports. You got to take that next step into being a leader too. Where do you think that comes from too, and where do you see yourself as a leader too? Do you see yourself as one of those vocal ones, or those kind of lead by example leaders?
I mean, I always like to be helpful. I try and do my best at leading. I'm, like I said, helpful. I don't like seeing like people who are confused and stuff, so I like to help other people out. So I try and be the best leader I can.
Let's go back to that 100th goal and what it was like for you to have that moment and to reach that milestone. Halfway through your career, really. What's it mean to you, and what kind of accomplishment was that for you, and how much did you put in work for that goal to be accomplished?
I worked a lot too. I mean, it's always been a goal to reach 100. I mean, when I scored it just kind of felt like any other goal, but I really worked hard to get where I am. So
Now, Kara, we would be remiss to say that there's not plenty of talks about what the big goal is too. That could be insight for you of the all-time state leader for goals in the sport too. Is that something that has crossed your mind too, or something that you've given any thought or looked into as an athlete? That this could be a real goal that I could really cement myself at the top of that leaderboard.
yeah, but I like to keep it in the back of my head. I don't want to like put it out as like, yeah, that's my main goal, because I don't want to go into a game thinking I need to score, I need to score. I like to look at other opportunities to score. Like, I can't get too caught up in I need so many goals when I need to pass the ball. I need to look for other opportunities to score, because that's, at the end of the day, that's how you win.
And we talked about it earlier. You're going into your junior season. I'm thinking that there are probably more responsibilities put on you as far as the leadership, that you're presented with, and the coaches that are going to be able to look to you and say, we don't need you to just be a statistical leader, but we need you to be an emotional leader and an energetic leader. How have you kind of handled those responsibilities, and what's it like now being an upperclassman?
I mean, it's kind of just like the other years in high school. You just listen, help other people out, and just be there for people if they need help, I guess.
Now, I know you're a great role model for those younger students too, but once you step on the field or the hardwood too, you get the nickname the bully in the Waterloo system too. And I mean, I gotta ask, do you have any fear? Because I see you making tackles on the field. I see you diving for basketballs during the basketball season, and it seems like you play with this fearless mindset. Do you have any fear when you step out on the field or the court?
No, not really.
What is that mindset like then when you go out there and you're playing with these other girls, competing with these other girls? It seems like you use that almost to your advantage, and that it's almost an intimidation factor that you show no fear and you're willing to be super physical in these contests.
Yeah, I mean, I just like to work the hardest I can. Like I said, I don't like losing, so
Who was
whatever.
big who was a big coach or a big influence to you younger in your soccer days too, that really got you into the sport and really showed you the ropes of being physical and having that physicality?
And one of my soccer coaches, I think I was in like 7th, 8th grade. His name was Steve Keller. He really like taught me like you have to be like physical, and just you have to be more physical than the other team. And then, I mean, a lot of my coaches have really preached that. So,
All right, so
and
You're not scared of anything in the soccer field or the basketball court, but you got to be scared of something. What are some of your childhood fears that might still be lingering on now that you're ranging into adulthood?
Um, I mean, probably like I'm not sure like what I want to do after high school. That's probably like one of my biggest fears, I guess.
Plans too. There's nothing physical or
Huh,
supernatural that Kara's afraid of,
huh.
man. Are you kidding me?
Bugs, snakes, no, nothing.
What's the go-to spot, or what's your go-to meal after these big wins that you get, whether it's on the basketball court or the soccer field?
Um, I like to drink a lot of water. I love drinking chocolate milk after games. Um, I don't know. I like to eat healthy. It really shows like I can notice in a game if I've eaten junk food or something. So a nice like healthy meal is really important to me.
Uh,
The drink of champions is chocolate milk, sponsored by Kara English.
Strong athletes love to keep their diet in check, but I gotta imagine that you do have some guilty pleasure desserts or food that you kind of try to treat yourself every now and then. What are those foods for you?
I love chocolate. Um, yeah, chocolate cake probably is the main one.
Who makes the best, or is it a homemade chocolate cake?
My grandma, she makes the best.
For sure, for sure. It's always grandma's chocolate cake.
What's your favorite chocolate bar, like as far as candy goes?
Probably Milky Way.
Yes.
I mean, this is this is fun too. Talking about this, I mean, you got the chocolate milk, you got the chocolate cake, you got the chocolate bar too. But I'm also curious too. Out of the players that you've played with, and I know your experience with soccer, there's been a ton too that you played with and against. Who's the most underrated player that you've played either with or against, in your opinion, that maybe didn't get a whole lot of limelight, but can do work on the field?
There's a lot of them actually. I think on our team personally is like I don't want to talk my sister up and stuff, but she's in the midfield, so she doesn't really get a lot of recognition on defense or offense, but she'll win like any 50-50 ball. For other teams, I mean Kylie Kosak, but she's really well known from Springfield. I only got to play against her 2 games my freshman year, but I learned a lot from her. She was really good. So
I think your sister might owe you some chores for that shout out. I think you're going to be able to use that as leverage at home. When you look at some of the people that have really been there to support you throughout your career, who comes to mind, and who do you want to give a shout out to before we let you go for the people that support you throughout your career?
definitely my parents. They've been there like every step of the way, driving me to practices, out of state games, and definitely they've been there since day one. So
Kara, thank you so much for the time today. Congratulations on 100 goals. We know it's going to be 100 and continually counting, and the team success. We know that's the number one goal for you. We wish you the best of luck going forward, and we look forward to talking to you again real soon.
thank you.
Kara English, and like I said, we usually we had to start football Friday off with a little bit of football. When you have someone that's going for a state record, you tend to make room for them whenever you can.
For sure, for sure. And I mean, Kara English is one of those just premier athletes. I've gotten a chance to see her quite a few times on the basketball court. I've seen her a couple times too on video. I have yet to see her live on the soccer field, but I mean, it's that same kind of approach that she has for both sports that I've seen. It's just that physical nature that you don't see a ton of girls be willing to bring here. Like, she's willing to do all the dirty work, and she does it at a superstar level, and that's why she gets the results she gets. I tell you, she brings something different to the sport, both sports too, and I love to see it.
And a lot of people think that if she was healthy in that last district championship game, might have been a little bit of a different story against Liberty in basketball. So no fear at all. Puts her body on the line throughout everything. Like, she'll dive for balls in basketball. She'll do the sliding tackles for soccer. She'll do whatever it takes to win, which is the ultimate competitor. You wouldn't know it talking to her off the field, but like I said, as soon as she puts that jersey on, It's a split personality.
She's got she's one of those kind-hearted kids outside of the class
Yeah.
or in the classroom, but I mean, once she steps on the hardwood or the soccer field, she's a badass. She
I'm
turns
gonna
into a badass.
I'm gonna beat you down to submission. She is the softest spoken bully you'll ever meet in your life.
For sure. I mean, I love to see it too. She goes to work for sure.
Oh man. So we once again we congratulate her on her 100th goal. Just what it happened before the Springfield game. So I think that was 2 games into her junior season. She scored 100.
4 goals in the Springfield game as well.
4
too.
goals. But Olivia Boyle also scored 4 goals, and Rose Couch scored 1.
Rose Couch's another name I'm familiar with too with the basketball.
So that's why she's getting 4 goals, is because you can't key in on her and say we're just going to stop carrying English. Obviously,
It's a good Waterloo soccer team, man. It really is, and that's a big win against the Springfield program.
Emphatic win, 9-2. They hadn't beaten Springfield in a long time. They tied with them once, last year. They tied with them in the regular season, and then Springfield beat them in the second matchup.
This is Waterloo's window right now. I mean, you got Carrie English, that's a junior, so you're going to get it for 1 more year. I mean, you're going to lose Rose Couts after this season. She's a senior, but
she's a senior. Man,
yeah, she's a senior.
I thought for sure she was
she was a junior last season. Right. Yep.
She was in Kara's grade.
No,
my bad.
She's a senior, so I mean, right there. I mean, this is a good window for Waterloo, and this could be a year they make a serious run.
I'll tell you, as we were venturing into our football talk, it is hard to keep track of what class everybody is in.
I tell you what, yeah,
I struggle so much with it. I really do. But we have a lot of football to talk about today. There's a lot of games on the network tonight. It is the first Friday in September. As we turn the calendar,
last day of non-conference games for a lot of these teams too.
And like we always do, we start with the we go in alphabetical order based on the road team. Just going through our games at a glance schedule. Ashtabula St. John will travel to Sebring. Aaron Moser will be on the call. 7:00 is the kickoff time, and this is a chance for Sebring to get a win. They beat Ashtabula St. John before. This is a beatable team that Sebring can have, and the Trojans have a real shot to get their first win of the season.
And you want to see every team get their first win, or at least get a win on the season too. So this is a good opportunity for Sebring to be able to capture that, and they got a great voice behind them in Amo that's going to be right there along with them.
You know, he had an overtime thriller last week, so maybe he can bring some thrilling magic to the fold for Sebring in their game against Ashtabula St. John. Real quick, I do want to backtrack because I don't want to miss the game from last night. Wellsville beat Steubenville Central Catholic 30-9 to get their first victory of the season. That game went well into the night. It didn't start until 7:45, and Coy and Gary did a great job, making the trip and making the call. Wellsville got the win, and that's their first win of the season.
Isaiah Greathouse really put the great in Greathouse.
Greathouse, right?
4 touchdown performance, 3 receiving, 1 rushing. He broke out for a 50-yard touchdown run and a 50-yard touchdown catch at one point too. So I mean, did work last night. Did Isaiah Greathouse? So I definitely said I think maybe a possible big dog candidate.
Maybe you never know.
Well,
we don't like to guarantee, but he's definitely thrown into the mix. We'll see what other performances happen tonight.
It's definitely a one performance that kind of is an appetizer for the performances for tonight.
This is where our YSM primetime was at last night. It is East Palestine hosting Camo Memorial. Someone's getting their first win of the season, and it should be a good one in East Palestine. With the Red Devils and Bulldogs, 7:00 first. I almost said first pitch.
First pitch.
Oh, wait a minute.
7:00 kickoff.
7:00 kickoff. I'm still like that. That proves that I'm still kind of in baseball mode a little bit. With the 6-month baseball season.
It was cool to see too prime time take place in East Palestine, and if I'm not mistaken, I mean you could check the historical records and correct me if I'm wrong, which I might be. I think that's the first time that prime time made a trip down to the birthplace of Ysn in East Palestine.
I think so, and it was a great time. We got to talk to a bunch of people that are really important to that program, and we saw it like East Palestine, especially against Malvern. there were bright spots in that game. They took a lead. They never trailed by enough to have a running clock. They fought. So, people thinking that this East Palestine team isn't going to show up and, give it their all against a fast and athletic Camel Memorial team coming to town. I don't think so.
I know a lot of people are looking at that Toronto score and also saying, like, okay, this is back to what we were used to with EP, but Toronto's a good football team, man. I mean, they ran Wellsville too pretty well. And I mean, we didn't expect that to happen. And Toronto, great football team going into this season.
I kind of like this non-conference schedule for East Palestine because they're good football teams. They're not like we're going to lose, 70-0 football teams, but they're good quality teams. But I also think they each have done something a little bit different. So East Palestine trying to see different styles of football. And when you look at this Camel team, when you look at speed, agility, I don't want to say athleticism because athleticism can be described in kind of different ways, but the ability to spread you out and really, put the ceiling off on the defense, it might be the only team that they see on their schedule that really tries that, because a lot of teams in the EOAC are still kind of ground and pound, slow moving offense. United will throw it every now and then, they'll air it out, but most of the teams in the EOAC are kind of that old school offense. So if they see a Camel team that is fast and likes to go east to west a little bit, a lot of bubble screens, a lot of jet sweeps, and a lot of go routes, that might help East Palestine's defense in the future.
It could, and I mean, this was always an exciting matchup too. Battle of two teams looking for their first win of the season, so someone's going to walk out with win number one, and that's always an exciting time too. So I think this is definitely a game to watch too, and it could be a toss-up, honestly.
Mr. Tim Figley going to have the call for you from East Palestine, and it's like Ty said, it should be a good one. Ty, your game is next as Canton Glen Oak comes to town to face an Austintown Fitch team that is, to understate it, has looked extremely impressive in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, and this is a team too that Austintown Fitch overall is 6-5 against in 11 matchups. And if you look back in their history, this was another one of those matchups similar to Cheney, which took almost a 10-year break before they returned it in 2019. Fitch ultimately got the win in that contest, and then they were supposed to be playing in 2020. We know COVID seasons shortened that to 6 games. That never happened. They were also supposed to play last year in 21 at Glen Oak, but that game got canceled because Glen Oak had COVID issues in that week. So that game got canceled for Fitch. So this is a matchup that hasn't happened since 2019, was supposed to happen the last 2 years. They're finally getting it again after it's been renewed since it stopped happening in 2011, and it's been over 10 years since Canton Glen Oak last beat Austintown Fitch.
So you've done your research, obviously. What does Glen Oak bring to the table as a football team? What should Fitch fans kind of expect the challenge to be this week?
It's another one of those D1 teams that can try and do a little bit of everything. You need to have a good running back. You need to have good receivers, and you kind of expect them to mix in some things too. I expect Fitch going into this do exactly what they did against McKinley. They're going to, I feel like, test the run. They might surprise some people with those play action passes.
Double pass.
Trick plays too. They're never not
not working.
Yeah, never not working on those trick plays. Thank you for that. But looking at too, Fitch, this is a team where I expect to use Jamel James, DJ Williams, ground and pound, and when you need to pass, you can sit back and pass. Glen Oak's defense is one of those teams too. They haven't had a good season in a couple years too, so they're looking to get some wins under their belt too. So this might be an opportunity for Fitch to put up a similar score to what we saw. But again, when you play those Division I teams, you never know, because if you're on a D1 team, you're a talented football player.
Yeah, and I also want to real quick just for the people viewing, if you want to share your opinions on these games or share your thoughts, or comment section always open. We want to hear from you guys. We don't share our picks until the Power Hour when we have our company picks. But if you want to put your picks up in the comments, we'd love to hear who you think will win these games. I'm interested as Fitch goes on, because this is kind of a new offensive scheme with new skill players and new positions. There's going to be more and more tape on them as the season goes on. So I'm interested to see how their offense kind of makes adjustments now that teams are starting to, now there's 2 games worth of tape that Glen Oak can watch. And when they get into week 4 and week 5, there'll be plenty of tape for teams to watch and say this is their tendencies, this is what they like to do now. Because let's just face it, Austintown Fitch with Devin Sherwood, their offense looked a lot different than it does now. They have different goals, they have different schemes, they have different plays they're running. So I think it's going to be interesting to see these defenses, one, make adjustment to more film on Fitch, and then how Fitch's offense makes adjustments to that when defenses are coming out. Maybe they can't catch them off scheme. I think they caught Canton McKinley, especially early, way out of scheme because they thought, hey, okay, they beat us with the run last year. We have to stop the run. And what they do, the first play from scrimmage, a double pass, bomb to the end zone. Right,
First
so they got him.
plays too. Second play was a screen pass that was a touchdown.
Right, so they got him on their heels. Right, so I think now you'll see defenses have more film on this Fitch team, and maybe that means that defenses will have a little bit more success. And Fitch is going to have to kind of make those adjustments as the season goes on, as every team kind of has to do.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because I also think Coach Parker knows too that what he has with this team. And I know that Coach Parker doesn't show everything that he has with a team over the course of the regular season. And you can win a lot of games with that defense, having guys like Brian Robinson, Cam Smith, a lot of D1 offers out there to these elite defenders on Fitch's squad too. But you look at too, what Deshaun Vaughn does under center, man, I have all the confidence in the world that this young man can absolutely hang and bang when he needs to, when he goes under center or out of the shotgun and has to stay in the pocket and use the arm. I have all the faith in the world that he can uncork those huge passes because I've seen him use it with his arm too. And it might be a case where you just don't want to utilize him fully right now too. Don't show exactly what you got until you have to.
Fitch looks to go 3-0, and they will once again host Canton Glen Oak tonight. 7:00 is the kickoff time. Ty Bartell will have the call. I'm saying you like you're not there. It was like Ty Bartell will have the call. Well, this guy will have the call. Next game on the docket, Cheney goes to Cardinal Mooney. Ty, going into this season, you probably circle this game as one that Cheney would have in the bag, but I don't know. Mooney's defense looks incredible the first 2 weeks, and maybe last week did their offense find a spark? I don't know. 31 points is a lot to put up.
I've been talking up Mooney since the beginning of the season as there's always that season too where you never know when that season's going to happen, when the Cardinals just they arrive again too, and they're full force, they're here and they are tough, and that's exactly the case. It seems like first couple of weeks getting their first win of the season, going 1-1. And Ashton O'Brien looked really good in that game too. I was there for last Saturday's matchup, and Ashton O'Brien did everything he needed to do, including that fake out to that play action keeper that he took all the way to the end zone that pretty much sealed the game, but did it with his legs, did it with his arms, getting some touchdown passes. One in particular where they were stopped on a long touchdown pass. They were held within the 1 yard line, pushed back, and then on a fourth down, I believe it was fourth down, decided to go for it, and O'Brien was able to find a receiver for a touchdown too. So, I mean, he's showing that maturity. I believe only a junior, if I'm not mistaken. He's showing that maturity going into this season too, getting some playing time last year, and he's looking really good going into this season. This is going to be a fun matchup, one of those old school Steel Valley rivalries back when it was the City Series.
And Ashton's efforts have been rewarded with a Big Dog of the Valley nominee. So if you're a fan of Ashton O'Brien, make sure to head over to ysnlive.com/bigdogs. Voting is unlimited, and it ends Monday at midnight this week for the holiday weekend. We're giving you that extra day. So Monday at midnight is when that voting ends. Make sure to get out there and vote as many times as you want for any of their players, including Ashton O'Brien, in this week's Big Dogs of the Valley, brought to you by Baird Brothers. On Cheney's side, I'm just so impressed with the consistency they've shown so far, and I just want it to continue, right? I want to see consistency, consistently disciplined, consistently in the right spots, because like we said last year, it was self-inflicted wounds that hurt this Cheney team. So if they can consistently stay away from those, their offense is remarkable. Their defense is big and physical. They're a tough team to beat if they don't beat themselves. And then there are a lot of football teams out there that will say the only team that can beat us is us. And I think Cheney's one of those teams right now.
Cheney's a team right now that is going into every Friday night saying, I'm going to push you into submission. And that's exactly
That's what they did to Borman. I mean, Borman had a lot of fight until about midway through the third quarter when Cheney ran a kickoff return back for a touchdown, and that was it. That was the last punch of the fight for a boxer reference. Boardman was punch drunk after that. It was done.
It was one of those cases, too, where Cheney just goes into those trenches, offensive line and defensive line, and they just win battles consistently.
Right.
I mean, both sides of the line. They just win battles consistently, and it wears teams down, and it opens up, for offensive line references, it opens up the offense so much come later in the game. And then for a lot of those players that are playing on special teams, too, it also wears them down for things like kickoff returns to happen. When the offensive line is doing work like that, man, it helps a ton for teams.
And just for if you don't buy it, this is a Cheney team that scored 41 on Boardman, who has a really good defense that held Mooney to 7. So when you look at what their offense can do when it's rolling, it's something else. So
beat a Poland team, made us all think that Poland was going to have a down year before Poland beat Louisville. Made us all think differently of Poland before we realized this is a great Cheney team.
And here's another thing that's overlooked. All 3 of these games on the road, at Poland, at Boardman, going to be at Mooney.
They love being road warriors, and wait until they have to go into Rain Stadium, man. And they got that Youngstown crowd behind them, the whole west side there to support them. It's going to be huge.
All right, Conneaut is coming off the overtime victory over Western Reserve. They played 2 games that have really come down to the final play, with the loss to Edgewood with the 2-point conversion, and then the win in overtime over Western Reserve. Will it be another thriller in Columbiana? We'll see tonight as they go to the Clippers facility in Firestone Park. Joe CBO and Hoppy will have the call for that one. We like to call him Hoppy. This one, 2 teams that played the same way, same exact football. It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be very interesting, considering that Columbiana just came off the
heartbreaker
against McDonald, too. So this is going to be interesting to see if Columbiana's got some fight. Conneaut was the one that was on the other side of the heartbreak against Western Reserve, too.
Conneaut won in overtime. They lost heartbreak at Edgewood. Heartbreak at Edgewood.
Well, no, I was saying Conneaut was the one on the other side.
Okay, I see what you mean. Because I was here. Okay, so Columbiana was in a heartbreak, and then you said Conneaut was
Columbiana had their heart broken, and then Conneaut was on the other side of the heartbreak.
Very good.
When they broke Western Reserve's heart last week, too. But you also said it, too. Conneaut had their heart broken by Edgewood as well. So both of these teams, I feel like this is going to be a really good game. I think Conneaut, we've seen their kind of style, too. They can play that old school style. We see a lot of Ashtabula teams run. We know Columbiana likes to run the ball as well. So this is going to be a fun matchup as well. I'm curious to see which one of these teams opens up the passing game first.
Here's why I'm confident this will be a good game, because it is hard for a team with Conneaut style to completely blow you out of the water. Even if they don't score quickly. They take a lot of time off the clock when they score. So even if they're dominating you, it's 17-0, 20-0. It's not going to be a, oh my gosh, 55-0 blowout.
Yeah,
when you're that close,
if it's 17-0, it's usually
in high school football. If it's 17-0, you still have a chance because it's still a high school kid. Someone could make a mistake. You could hit a bomb over the top. You have a chance when you're that close. When you're down by 50, it's just put the nail in the coffin. Let's just pack it in and move on to the next week.
Pack it in, Anthony says. Pack it in.
So it should be a competitive game. Columbiana lost by 1 to McDonald last week, and they felt like they had it in the bag. So they're definitely going to be motivated to get this win this week as they host Conneaut. We continue the next game on the slate. East Liverpool travels to Salem. Our Salem boys will have it. Matt Mowry and Jared Niederheiser, 7:00 kickoff. And this is a little rivalry brewing in football with the 2 Ysn conglomerates of the Buckeye 8 with the East Liverpool and Beaver Local and Salem. Salem played Beaver Local last week. At Beaver Local, they kind of handled their business. I think it was 41-27, if I'm not mistaken, and now they hit the other side of that rivalry and will host East Liverpool.
This will be interesting too, with East Liverpool making the trip to Quaker Country and having to take on Salem and have to deal with that style that Salem presents too. And it's a style of offense that you don't usually see many teams in the lower divisions like that run as efficiently as Jackson Johnson can run it for Salem too, where he's on, man. He's really on, and it's tough to stop defensively, but this is a good test for East Liverpool to really go up against an offense like this. Good test for their defense, because once they see this, they're going to definitely be ready for almost any kind of passing attack, you would think.
And what's the style of the Quakers offense? It's we're really good, and we're going to prove it. That's kind of I mean, Jackson Johnson, I think he heard – we talked about it with DJ yesterday. I think he heard some of the noise after week 1, only scoring 17 against Crestview. Like, okay, Salem's offense is going to struggle this year. You know, he's going to miss plays X line, yada, yada, yada. And Jackson Johnson was like, okay, bet. Watch this. And then he did what he did at Beaver Local, which was
distributed the wealth.
a great performance. So Jackson Johnson's going to be fine. The Salem offense is going to be fine. And they get their home game tonight.
Yeah, it should be a fun matchup, too. It's always fun when they're in Quaker country.
We got a lot more football to cover. We're going to keep covering it, but first we're going to pay some bills. Take our first break of the day. We'll be back on Running Point. Brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Why choose local? Because you live here, work here, learn here, relax here, and celebrate here. 21 WFMJ is our family's only locally owned TV station, and our focus is local. Other TV stations don't have that same focus, as their owners are somewhere else. But 21 WFMJ is rooted in the Valley. Local people making decisions that affect your life, right here where you live.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa.
And I'm Kelsey Klim from K-Squared Marketing.
Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships.
We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team.
Your goals, our game plan.
Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Change. This one word can make you break out in a cold sweat. But with change comes wisdom, experience, and understanding. At Myers Family Insurance, we can help make changes in Medicare, insurance, and retirement a positive experience for you and your family. We've gone through changes, like our new office and new faces to help our family of clients too.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com or find us on Facebook.
Jimmy Sutton here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
How lucky are we to have not one, but two 18-hole Donald Ross Championship golf courses right here in our backyards. Mill Creek Golf Course was selected by Golf Week as one of America's 30 best municipal courses, continuing to challenge golfers of all levels and featuring PGA professionals, golf instruction, a players rewards club, kids programs, and a pro shop and grill room for a memorable golf experience. Call or click to schedule your tee time at Mill Creek Golf Course.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, we offer a worry-free experience for all our customers. From sales to financing and even service, we'll help build your perfect vehicle
and lock in your trade value
while your vehicle is being built.
No worries.
We guarantee financing,
regardless of your situation or credit history.
No worries. And when your vehicle needs service,
our award-winning team will get you back on the road.
No worries.
That's what going the extra mile means. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Now is the time to think about your future, where you want to go, what you want to be. Your future can start now at Kent State Salem or Kent State East Liverpool. We have programs that will open doors and provide opportunities for you to pursue your passion. We are affordable, we are close. You call it hometown, we call it Kent State University. Learn more at www.kent.edu/Columbiana. You belong here.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you as always by our good friends at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. If you're looking for a car, head over to them. They'll take care of you better than anybody else. And by the way, follow them on social media, especially their sales representative, Kevin Lawson. He is a great follow on TikTok. I'm giving him a plug because he deserves it. He makes a lot of good content, a lot of fun, creative content to give you a little bit of behind the scenes look at their sale room. So make sure you go follow him. And also make sure to check out Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown if you're looking for a car.
You know where
so we go into what?
You know where there's also a lot of great content?
ysnlive.com.
Yeah, and our YouTube page if you hit the notification bell and subscribe. There's a ton of interviews happening, people that drop on our YouTube page constantly, especially throughout the fall season. And it's so easy to miss one of them. So you're going to want to make sure that you're subscribed and you hit that notification bell.
We got post-game interviews on there for you. We got player profiles. We have coaches' corners. We have game highlights. A bunch of stuff to find on our YouTube channel. So make sure, like Ty said, get over there, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Ty, we left off with East Liverpool and Salem. We will move on to the next one once again, just in alphabetical order based on the road team. And it is Geneva at Springfield. Jamie Thompson will have the call. And this was the game that was the turning point last year for Springfield. But boy, did Geneva look impressive last week.
And I really like the fact that the Tigers are going to get a familiar voice behind them tonight, too, and good old Jamie Thompson. So it seems like all the stars are lined up for a Tiger victory potentially, but Geneva looked really good against Struthers last week, too, and really caught us all off guard with that one. This is going to be a tougher matchup than it certainly seemed at first for Springfield going into this season. And it's going to be tough, but Tigers are home. They're going to have that whole section is going to be absolutely filled. I don't know what the theme is tonight, but if it's just Tiger theme, I expect orange and black all throughout the stands. Like Springfield, New Middletown, Springfield absolutely brings it on Friday nights, and I expect nothing less tonight.
Look, I mean, this is a 50-50 one because, obviously we're not saying our picks. The picks will be presented on the Power Hour, but I will tell you this is one that I've kind of went back and forth on because it's hard to imagine Springfield going 0-3. It just is, and this was the game they made their turnaround last year. It took Sean Guerrero all of 2 whole games to figure out how to fix the issue. But Geneva looked so good last week, and this is going to be a tough test.
It's going to be a very tough test, and I'm curious to see how Springfield comes out tonight. And it's going to be one of those games, I think, for the Tigers too, where it's like if they lose this one, you start out 0-3. Yeah. Now there's going to have to be questions that are going to have to start being asked too. Of okay, what do we need to start changing up? What do we need to start trying to do differently going forward?
But here's especially because week 4 is Lowville. There's no little
it's conference opening. So you can go 0-3 in non-conference and say, okay, whatever. We can still win the NBA.
I wouldn't be shocked if they went 0-3 and then 7-3. They could dominate the conference.
Absolutely. And Springfield can look ahead for that too if that does happen tonight too. But they want to start off, get a win before that conference slate opens up and kind of show their teeth, pun intended, I guess, for the to the Rockets a little bit before week 4. They want to show them, okay, you're not going to just go over and steamroll us. It's not going to be that year, and it's not going to be that easy.
What an intimidation factor that would be to just imagine if they just put their foot down on Geneva, just to eye Louisville a little bit and say, if you thought that we were gone, hold on, hold the phone.
I'm excited.
We're not going anywhere.
I know we're not supposed to be looking ahead, but week 4 is definitely going to be a great
look ahead.
Yeah,
we can look ahead. Coaches can't, players can't.
Week 4 is going to be a fun matchup with Springfield and Lowville, but I want to see what Springfield does tonight. I'm curious to see what they do tonight. and hopefully we see the Tigers get back to their Springfield ways, because I want a great matchup on Friday night between Rockets and Tigers.
A very impressive Girard team travels to Ellet today, and it will be Matt Mayer making the trip to Ellet with the Indians. And this Girard team, Ty, has looked just star-studded. Michael Palmer is doing what he does best in the backfield, but he is also sidecarred by Nick Bengala, who is healthy this year, making great throws, and just it's a balanced offense right now.
Dude's like Nick Bengala is like Albert Bell, and he's like, it's all in here, man. Like when he's got
Bell without the crappy attitude.
Yeah. And when he's got to uncork it, man, he can absolutely let it fly. And Michael Palmer's the perfect guy to open up all those passing opportunities for Girard's offense. He's the guy that sets the tone, sets the pace, and he's literally like the Energizer Bunny. He just keeps going. It doesn't stop through all 4 quarters, and I think that's what makes him really tough on teams, is that you can't slow him down. It seems like his motor skills or his energy level, for if you want to go Madden ratings, is at 99, the highest it can be.
It's kind of a double-headed monster right now for Girard, because if you want to slow down Michael Palmer, you're going to give up stuff to Nick Bengala through the air, and if you want to do the opposite, then you'll give up stuff on the ground to Michael Palmer.
They got a great squad, Girard does too, and they got some impressive wins first couple of weeks. Looking to get one more non-conference win before opening up play in the NE8.
I want to remind everyone tuning in that we want to hear your thoughts on the games tonight. Comment sections are open, and if you want to throw in who you think will win, what you think the matchups are going to be, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. So as we move on to the next game on the slate, very interesting one, Howland at Hubbard. Both teams struggling a little bit offensively to start the season, but Hubbard has found ways to win, and Howland has lost a couple of really tight, heartbreaking games.
And this is one, too, where Howland, if you want to look in the volleyball realm, just beat Hubbard 3-2. So, I mean, there's a little bit of matchups going on between
wild, dramatic volleyball game I've seen in a while.
And you were there. That was a great matchup. So they get to kind of renew that matchup this time on the football field. But this time, Hubbard looks like they have revenge on their mind. And like you said, both these offenses are struggling, but Hubbard, like they have in so many seasons before, just find ways to win. They don't have many bad seasons. They're usually a 500 or above football team, and they already start off the season 2-0, looking to go 3-0 before going into conference play. Not going to be an easy matchup in the slightest, too, because the Tigers are always one of those teams that can push you. I'm excited to see who can prevail in this one.
Offensive struggles aside, Hubbard has given up 11 points in 2 games, which is excellent for their defensive scheme, and their defense might be what they lean on tonight against a Howland team that is struggling to find an identity.
Could be. It very well could be, but we've seen Howland before, too, have those breakout games, and when they
did it against West Branch, almost upset them last year. In week 3, I think.
Yeah, they're one of those teams, Howland is. You can never count them out, and when things are clicking over there, they're clicking on all cylinders, so it should be exciting in this one, too, because Howland's not afraid to open it up. It's week 3. You need a win. It's one team that needs a win versus a one team that wants to keep that win streak alive before conference play. So
it'll be the voice of the Howland Tigers, Noah Ricks, on the call. 7 o'clock kickoff for that one. Hey, how about this one? The old rivalry is well and alive. Jefferson won it last year. They'll try to win it again and keep the Hoadley Cup, I think.
Hoadley Cup, I think.
Hoadley? I said it right. I almost said it right, or I got close. I don't know. Jefferson at Edgewood. Round. I don't know. I think round 2, because last year was the first time we had it, on YSN.
Yeah.
But
both teams are 2-0 as well. Like that's the exciting part. Both teams undefeated going into this matchup. Jefferson currently holding the cup. As Edgewood wants it back. They want to take it back, and this is going to be one of those matchups. I think, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember the history, because I read up on it a little bit when I did the game last year. I believe the winning school usually keeps it. It's one of those traveling trophies.
Trophy, and before last year, Edgewood had it for a while.
Quite some time. So Jefferson's been holding it, and they have a nice shiny spot they want to keep it in for this next year as well.
When you haven't had it for a while, and then you get it. You're gonna hold on to that like a child holds onto a blanket. Like, no, this is mine. Mine.
This is gonna be interesting because I mean, Edgewood's defense has looked really good in the last couple weeks. Jefferson's offense has looked dynamic the last couple weeks. This is going to be fun too. And you got some of the best guys too that are behind it, that know the rivalry, know the meaning behind this trophy in the 440 and Goal Boys.
And if you haven't listened to one of their calls on YSN yet, you are missing out, man. They make every game exciting. How about Jefferson? They still have the so far after 2 weeks, the highest score total of any YSN team. They've scored 66 in week 1. So no one scored more than that yet. And they still have the biggest offensive output so far in the YSN family.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see this one.
And then I remember when we told Coach Hannah that, he's like, yeah, 59 of those came in F. And I was like, oh, dang, flex.
This is a case too where you also look in the region standings for these teams too, and both these teams are fighting for some regional positionings as well. You got to remember it's top 16 in each region that make it for each division. So both these teams are certainly looking to make some noise and gain some ground. And playoffs, it's one case too where every week you're looking at seeing where you're at too, where you're ranked and where you could be.
Talk about region standings. How about another Ashley Beulah team that I know the 441 goal guys know very well? Ashley Beulah Lakeside is right now sitting at 1 in Division 2, Region 5.
That's incredible to think too. These teams are really showing something this year, man. All these
Ashley Beulah County is showing off right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, they're doing so in a big way in multiple divisions. And this is a very exciting time, I think, for this football season.
It's like 441 Gold just picked a great time to come and join us. Like, let's go.
I pulled it up too. Jefferson
the stars are aligning.
For Division 4, Region 13, Jefferson is ranked 4. Edgewood is ranked 5. So it's a battle of 4 versus 5 in regional standings, and it's also a battle of 2-2-0 teams for the Hoadley Cup. I mean, story writes itself for this week.
Also, some teams that might be able to sneak into those power rankings that we put out every week. A 3-0 start.
You win a Hoadley Cup. I mean, 3-0 start for Jefferson right before any 8 play.
Whoever wins is probably going to be at least top 4 in the region. Maybe that sneaks into the power rankings a little bit. Who knows?
And we have Edgewood too. We have Edgewood.
I said whoever wins is going to be in top 4. Maybe that's
my fault, Edgewood. I forgot. I didn't see you sitting at the table yet, too. It's a long table. We have a lot of teams there. Someone was covering you, though. But Edgewood's at the table. I think, the winner of this game can definitely make a case to be on that power rankings.
Can you imagine, like, Edgewood joins the party and they only take 3 weeks to get into the power rankings? That's like awesome flex.
They're just like,
Garfield's out there like it took us a whole basketball season.
They're like, move my spot on the table, please.
Edgewood's like, I'm here forever. Up next in the slate, another new addition to the YSN family. Orange has their home football debut on YSN. They made their YSN debut last week at Middle Ridge, but now they have their home football debut as they host John Hay. Connor Richardson will have the call there. 7 o'clock is the kickoff time for John Hay at Orange.
I'm excited to see this one too, and just to kind of experience these football teams over there, because I've only seen them, of course, when they kind of match up with our local teams. So I haven't seen a ton of those kind of Cleveland area, Cleveland suburb teams. This is going to be exciting seeing teams that Orange welcomes in on the season. And we know too, also, that conference that Orange plays in, right? It also features a certain Kirtland team that is featured a lot too during the season. So that's going to be interesting to see that conference that Orange is in as well, and kind of see the regular season matchups.
Not that team. That's how we were done with that team.
It's like, I thought we got away from Kurt.
No, we got interconference. Oh, okay.
We're at the table of Kirtland's conference.
That doesn't make any sense that they're in the same conference because Kirtland's up in Lake County and Orange is up in Cleveland.
For you.
I don't know.
I'll double check.
I'm calling challenge. Wait a minute.
I'm telling you, I'm
like, that would be a long travel from Lake County all the way up.
You act like these teams ain't traveling in different conferences an hour plus. Let's see. Yeah, they're in the Chagrin Valley Conference, Oranges, with Kirtland, Lakeside, Edgewood, Geneva, Chagrin Falls, Perry, and West Geauga.
Wow.
So we have Edgewood in that conference too. I forgot to mention too. We're also in there. So Edgewood's also knocking at that door with Kirtland as well.
Okay.
So
you are correct. You are props, man. Props. I bow to the machine.
You got two teams sitting at the table.
John Hay and Orange kicks off at 7 o'clock again. We will move on. LeBray goes to Jackson Milton. Ian O'Brien will be on the call. And this is kind of a switcheroo game, I guess you could say. LeBray was originally scheduled to play Niles. Niles had to cancel. And then Jackson Milton also had their Week 3 game canceled as Wyndham had to recuse themselves from Week 3. So it just matched up well. And these two teams were both looking for a game in the last minute. And they kind of both came together. And they're going to play each other now in Jackson Milton.
This is going to be, I mean, credit to all these athletic directors for just like, all right.
Look, they went through 2020. They're like, okay, 1 week, we got this.
They're like, on the slate, and they got one. And all of these games are going off now. To my understanding, we got all these teams that have games now that needed a game. They got a game, and that's exactly what we're seeing in this matchup. And this is going to be an exciting matchup too, because especially since Jackson Milton's one of those teams that, first week, they did kind of what I expected them to do. I let's be honest. The second week, I thought Newton Falls was going to neutralize them like we saw the year before. They really battled it out, showed that they could play a different style of football. They're not just that offensive juggernaut too that can beat up on those defenses that are a little bit younger than they are. They showed that they could get in those defensive battles, and they came up on top of
that, winning in a big scoring matchup and then winning 16-13 the next week. That's showing you win in two different ways is very impressive. By the way, talking about Niles, who did have to cancel the game with LeBray. Yesterday, it was breaking news that they did pick up a game, so they will be playing this week. They will travel to Independence. So I know that's kind of a brand new kind of thing. So if you are not privy to that, if you're a Niles fan and you want to make the trip up to Independence, the Dragons will be playing tonight in Independence at 7 o'clock.
It'll be fun to see too, because LeBray at Jackson Milton should be a fun matchup as well, as LeBray looking for their first win.
Jackson Milton looking to go to 3-0, and they're looking at this game like, okay, this is winnable, but I never sleep on LeBray, even though they're struggling right now. If they find their identity, they're going to be a good team. They just have to find out what they do well and then try to execute it at a high level. So LeBray's a good program. I think they'll find their feet eventually, but it's a tough test to try to do it on the road in Jackson Milton tonight. Once again, Ian O'Brien will be on the call from the Blue Jays nest. We move on to Lakeview and Liberty, the battle of the L's, but Lakeview not looking for an L. They are 1-1. They've looked impressive in both their games. Even in their loss against Garfield, they held the team into 17 points. It was a 17-7 loss, and they look like a completely different Lakeview team this year. Liberty, on the other hand, they fought against Western Reserve. They ended up losing, but they ran into a buzzsaw for Girard, so they're looking for their first win. Also, their home opener this week. They only play 4 home games. This is one of them. So Liberty trying to get some home cooking and trying to get the momentum of their home opener on their side. Lakeview trying to get a second win and go to 2-1 on the season.
Full disclosure, I have not made my picks yet. I haven't submitted my picks yet. I haven't even written down a single pick yet. But this game, I'm kind of mulling over because Lakeview, you're starting to make me a believer week in and week out. Like, this is a football team that vastly improved from last year, and you see all those younger players that got that experience playing NE8 football and the non-conference slate that kind of had to take it on the chin, realize, there was a little bit of an experience gap, which you're going to see. If you're going sophomores to seniors, it's just a different style. You have to grow into the body style too. You got to put in work in the weight room. Looks like Lakeview put in that work though, man. They're growing into themselves. A lot of upperclassmen on this team that are willing to take over those spots, and they look like a tough football team. There were points in that Garfield game where I thought they're going to take over. They're going to do what we saw they did last week, and they're going to take over. Still a little bit of inexperience because they haven't played many games at that level in a little bit of time, but you get experience playing in those close games late. I think Lakeview is going to have another experience in this one again.
What do you mean Loki say about experience, Ty?
Yeah, experience is experience, but this is a case though too where I think this is just a winnable game, flat out 50-50 game, because Liberty, they've had their struggles the last few weeks too. that they're going to try to shore those up. Coach Simon does a great job of trying to shore those things up going into this week, but there's definitely a little bit of holes that you can look at in the last couple of weeks if you are Lakeview to try to exploit on Liberty to see if you can get yourself to exploit them this week.
We've talked before how similar Liberty's football teams continue to look, and I think coming into this season in the last, I think we went back all the way to 2012. They were exactly 500. When you look at their win-loss record from 12 to last year they were 5-5.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how they're like 500 over these years.
They're always that team that gets wins, but also gets a couple of games that make you scratch your head. Last year it was Crestview. Crestview kind of came in, and they were the only team that was flat out better than Liberty that night. So they're hoping that they can shake off another really tough loss where they were just completely outmatched against Girard. They had one game that went that way last year. So the question is, can they shake it off and make every other game at least, put themselves in positions to win? I think I don't think it's time to hit the panic button just because of a blowout for Liberty. They've proven inside that program, inside that coaching staff, that they know how to bounce back from a loss like that.
Yeah. And I don't know how much of that was Liberty playing a bad football game as much as it is Girard just being that good. Too. Like, I don't know where that scale is tipping. I feel like it's a little bit of both. I think the truth's somewhere.
Yeah, I think that because I think Liberty's good enough to not be beat by 48-0.
Yeah, I think they are as well. And I think Girard, I mean, there's those games though where teams have the best night that they could possibly have. Everything just seems to be going right. Like,
I know they have a new quarterback, but Chris Cunningham is a dog for Liberty. He's probably one of the most underrated wide receivers that we have in this realm. I mean, he was 1,000-yard receiver last year. And yeah, he's a guy that you gotta talk about. He's one of the most talented guys that we see in the YSN family. So he will make impacts. They'll find ways to get that boy the ball because he is a really good football player.
Right.
On the other side, talk about a dog for Lakeview. Nolan Toth is off to an amazing start to his season as well. So both these teams have players that you got to talk about.
Yeah, Brian Oatridge going to be talking about both of them tonight. You're going to want to make sure you hear a Brian Oatridge called game too.
Brian's a dog too, man.
He does a fine job. He'll be guiding your way through this Lakeview Liberty matchup, and it should be a good one too. I think it's one of those 50-50 games you look at.
Let's get through one more, and then we'll take our next commercial break. The next one on the slate is Louisville traveling to Canal Fulton Northwest. It is Bob Burrick who will make the trip with the Leopards, who they've battled. They've held Steubenville to 21 points, and then they held Poland to 21 points, but their offense still just trying to find a rhythm. I think their defense will keep them in games. I think they'll keep them in this game. The question is going to be for the Leopards, can they find that offensive rhythm to put points up on the board?
And Fulton Northwest, they're going into this season 2-0. Norton, a win against Norton in week 1, 35-14, win against Marlington week 2, 22-14.
We know that Louisville does not schedule bad teams.
No. So this is going to be another one of those solid teams. And for Louisville, that's kind of been the name of the game the last few seasons, is just trying to find that offense again. Dating back to last year, they've had their offensive struggles. They're trying to find that offense. Defense is certainly good enough to keep them in games. I believe if you're holding teams to 21 points, 3 touchdowns, plus extra points, like, you're doing enough work that if your offense can get you the ball, get you 4 possessions with a score, 2, 3 touchdowns plus a field goal, I guess. But 4 possessions too, resulting in a score, you can win most games if you're holding teams to 20, 21 points on defense.
Last week's game, for the most part of the third and the fourth, it was 14-10. I mean, I think Poland scored late to make it 21-10. But I mean, Louisville was right there. They had plenty of opportunities to try to take that lead.
Got to finish drive.
Defense kept putting them in positions, and the offense, like you said, struggling right now, trying to find a rhythm. And they're going to have to find it against a really good Canal Fulton team that has scored, 35-22. So that's 57 points in 2 games. Pretty good offense.
To 28, really, in the last couple of weeks, haven't allowed more than 14 points of offense. So it's another good defense that the offense is going to have to try to figure it out. But you got to earn your spot some way, Leopards, and it can start tonight.
They'll do it on the road at Canal Fulton. Once again, Bob Burrick will make the trip with the Leopards. 7 o'clock kickoff, and we will take another break. We have plenty of more football to talk about when we come back, and we'll also go over what's happening on the weekend as well. So don't go anywhere. This is Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
We are Kent State in the Valley. Start and finish one of more than 25 bachelor's or associate degree programs, or start one of Kent State's 280 majors. With low tuition, public, and plenty of scholarship opportunities, we will help you maximize your education and minimize student debt. Enjoy the benefits of a smaller campus with all the opportunities of a large university. Save money, stay close to home. Apply today by visiting kent.edu/Trumbull.
WRS Wealth Advisors is the area's premier wealth and retirement specialist. With our combined 70 years experience, WRS Wealth Advisors is the area's premier wealth and retirement specialist. Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services, or visit WRSwealth.com. Good luck, athletes!
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoning County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update. Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
From on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsuranceSolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
For a great vehicle and a great experience, come to Boardman Mitsubishi today. As always, our full lineup of Mitsubishi models comes with a standard 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Boardman Mitsubishi, your hometown Mitsubishi dealer since 1999.
But now you can see every school, to the smallest school, to the intermediate schools, to the schools in the outlying areas. It gives you coverage that you could just never get to before. It's something that's great to experience, and it's opened up a whole new wave of sports viewership. The possibilities are endless here at YSN. Push the envelope every day. Try something new. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, let's try another angle, and we just keep moving forward. My name is Mike Ackelson, and my sports network is your sports network.
It's a new year at Acura of Boardman and Boardman Mitsubishi with huge savings on over 350 fully inspected vehicles. We have cars, trucks, SUVs, minivans, and work vehicles. We don't have it, our team will find it. We aim for 100% credit approval with payments as low as $99 per month. And as always, we'll pay top dollar for your trade. For a great vehicle and a great experience, come see why everyone is stopping by at Acura Boardman and Boardman Mitsubishi.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell as we continue our Friday football preview, breaking down all the matchups that are happening tonight and tomorrow. Ty, we left off with Louisville traveling to Canal Fulton, and that will be a 7 o'clock kickoff with Bob Burdick on the call. Let's move on to Massillon Jackson, the Purple Polar Bears coming into town to play Boardman in Spartanville as the Spartans try to bounce back from their loss to Cheney. This is a good one. I think, Massillon Jackson is a big, big get. It's a big school, and it's a big opportunity for Boardman to kind of plant their flag and send the message to the rest of the state of Ohio.
For sure, and a great voice of Donnie Riccatelli behind the call for this game, as well as Spartans and Polar Bears do battle. And this is another Federal League team that Boardman welcomes, and we've seen them do it in the basketball season, doing it in the football season now as well, with a great matchup, I think, with Massillon Jackson.
Polar Bears, I love it. This is when we talk about unique mascots. We have a lot of bears. I've never seen a polar bear before. And they're very specific with it. They're the polar bears.
The Polar Bears.
I want to like go back into Massillon's history and see if there's a reason why they call themselves the Polar Bears. Like,
I want to go into Massillon's high school and see if they really did with an Arctic theme in Massillon's high school.
That'd be cool. Like they have like a little like polar that'd be cool.
Like they should really have built. Like I want to go into Massillon's high school.
If you've ever been to Latonia, they have like a realistic bear in their lobby. So
yeah,
maybe
they have they have the realistic bear too. Well, not like the thing. They have the mural, I guess I should say, in their gym too. That's really cool. I like.
Oh yeah, Latonia's bear in the gym is pretty cool. And then when we talk about murals in gyms,
yeah,
I'm kind of a snob. I'm a mural snob, and Latonia's is like an A grade mural. It's what you aim to be.
I like it too, and I mean it's a really nice look too. I've only seen it a couple times. I've only been to Latonia a couple times, but
he doesn't have a fat paw.
No, he doesn't too. He's just a huge bear.
No fat paw. Oh man, throw back to life in basketball season. But we will get there eventually. But first, we have a bunch of fall sports to get wrapped up as we venture into September.
Speaking of
Latonia, they're welcoming in Matthews tonight. Latonia looking for their first win of the season. It'll be Chris Sigler on the call in the Bears Den as a really good little small Matthews team comes into town.
And Matthews is going to be solid, and actually Latonia is going to have their hands full with this matchup all the way through. I mean, yeah, you're going to be home, but Matthews is going to give you all you can handle and more. They've shown to be a very solid football team first couple weeks of the season. It's going to be a tough test for Latonia, too, to see if they can bounce back at their first win.
And then we go into Canfield, the Battle of 224s tonight. Poland at Canfield, and of course, Richie Giuliano will be on the call with Kyle Wills for the play-by-play and the color commentary. This is one, man, I know coming in, you're thinking, well, Canfield's the almighty favorite in this game, and they probably should be the favorite if there were lines in high school football, which they're not. Don't be a degenerate. But I throw away records and stuff like that when you're talking about rivalry games, right? This is a game that you'll probably get Poland's best effort that they have all season. They're going to put everything they have into this one because it to quote the SEC, it just means more, right? Canfield versus Poland. You're going to get the kids' best. And I feel like I would be surprised if Canfield just completely ran away with this game.
It's like Florida State University, Alabama, Auburn, Michigan, Ohio State. It's one of those games where it doesn't matter that Canfield's 2-0, Poland's 1-1. It doesn't even matter how they won or lost the last couple of weeks. These kids go to the same Burger Kings, go to the same McDonald's, same Chick-fil-A, same places too. They're right there 10 minutes apart. Like they see each other on a regular basis. Right. Bragging rights is on the line amongst your friends too. And across the kids that are just a stone's throw away. So Canfield, Poland, yeah, you throw those records out the window. It doesn't matter. You know the Bulldogs are bringing it into Cardinal country. And you know Canfield wants to defend home court, or home field, I should say. as bragging rights are on the line. It's the Battle of 224.
This is the game that some fans say, I don't care if we go 1-9 and our one win is Canfield, our one win is Poland, then I'm okay with that. That's how much this game means to the communities.
For sure. This is going to be a fun matchup. I'm super excited to see what Poland brings now that they have the momentum coming off of a win, and Canfield's looked really good against West Branch and Bellevue.
Yeah. I think after playing Cheney and giving up 34 points and really being pushed around by Cheney, this I know Louisville has been struggling winning, but at the end of the day, they're a big football team with a lot of depth, and you got to be physical to beat them. You got to be big and physical. I think Poland kind of earned their physicality in week 2. They kind of got a lot more. Maybe they got a stern talking to during the week, but they just looked a lot harder than they did in the week 1 against Cheney, when they were just they didn't look like they were the more physical team at all. They didn't look like they really wanted to be physical with Cheney. And I get it, because Cheney's big and they push you around. It's hard to want to be physical with those boys. But I feel like Louisville Poland kind of found out that they can be a physical team. They can kind of build into that Poland tradition of being a physical football team last week. And I think they'll come into this game with that same mindset of being a much more physical team than we saw in week 1.
Yeah, and that's what you're hoping to see too. Poland's going to have to be if they want to get a.
They might lose this game, but I guarantee the Canfield players are going to know that Poland was there. They're going to feel it. I feel like it's going to be one of those games that you have to recover on Saturday.
Yeah, it'll be fun too. Battle of 224 renewed for the 2022 edition.
Once again, Richie Giuliano and Kyle Wills will have the call.
I can't wait till 2024. They have to have the Battle of 224 in 2024. You gotta run it to 224 in 2024.
South Range on the road again. They will play Canton Central Catholic, and this is where the football team gets to have some lethargic therapy for the rest of the South Range boys athletic programs, because baseball team and basketball team, their biggest enemy in the tournament is Canton Central Catholic, and it always has. For the last 10 years, it's always been Canton Central Catholic that knocked them out of the tournament, whether it be in districts or regionals, and it's like, come on, can't get past this team. And it's the football team's turn to say, guys, I'll give you a win here. And I think last year they did it pretty easily. And they go on the road this year, and South Range has their final tune-up before NEA play.
Yeah, and this is going to be fun to see the Raiders and what they can come together with, looking to go 3-0. A lot of NE8 teams looking to start off 3-0 before conference play starts as well. So this is a case, too, where the Raiders looked really good against University School a week ago. And DJ going to be on the call per usual for the Raiders too. So I know he's going to be talking about it a little bit on the Power Hour when it comes to it. And he gave us a little bit of a preview on Monday's edition of Running Point as well, when power kind of went out for the studio. But this is going to be a fun matchup. DJ behind the call as well, as Raiders looking to go 3-0, and they've looked really strong the first 2 weeks.
Shane Lindstrom, I want to twist in with that backflip now. All right, let's add the degree of difficulty up a little bit.
He needs to just keep adding it.
Add that twist in there. Do a little backhand spring. We'll be good.
Yeah, there you go.
I think the cheerleaders are all week. We're like teaching them how to do backflips and teaching them how to. That would be really cool. After that backflip, it would have been a really cool piece of content to have him with the cheerleaders being taught how to do all the gymnastic moves that they can do.
He
right?
pulls it off in the gear.
Tell me that wouldn't have been a really good piece of content. I'm sad that I thought of it so late.
Too late.
Too late. That would have been fun. That would we could have brought cheerleaders on and hey, grade this. Give this a score. Give this backflip a score. 1 to 10. So South Range will travel to Canton Central Catholic. Their second road game in a row. The second long road trip in a row too. As they go all the way to Canton. 7 o'clock kickoff time. Once again, DJ Oakley will have the call, and it should be a fun one in the CCC. Struthers will try to bounce back as they travel to Streetsboro. CJ Schroeds and Noah Doty are making the trip with the Wildcats, and it's a big game for Struthers. It could be a turning point for them because they looked really good in week 1 and then not so good in week 2. And this is when they kind of find themselves, and it could be how the season goes. Are we going to look like we did in week 1? Or are we going to look like how we did in week 2? And whichever the answer to that is could send them throughout the rest of their season.
I think that's going to be a good measuring stick, too, considering Gerard played Streetsboro as well. Now you're going to see Struthers play him and kind of get that measuring stick of what this NE8 looks like against that team and how good Streetsboro is this year as well. Because, I mean, if we get a tough-nosed Streetsboro team that really makes it tough on the Wildcats, I think it kind of showcases, all right, maybe Gerard is kind of the real deal then this season.
And then, like, if it goes the other way around, it's like, how much weight do we put on that Streetsboro
Exactly.
win now for Gerard?
It's a good measuring stick game, I think.
Yeah, I think when you said that, I was saying, okay, it's a measuring stick for Struthers to see how they stack up with Gerard because it'll be the same opponent. But it's also a measuring stick on how real impressive that week 1 win was for the Indians.
Exactly. So I think it's definitely going to put some weight, and it might throw some weight for power rankings going forward.
Who knows? Toronto will travel to Lisbon. Rick Daly will be on the call. Toronto's making like the EOAC tour, right? Wellsville, East Palestine, Lisbon. In their
2-0
in the non-conference. We learned Monday that they were part of the EOAC. You were right about that, so props to you. In baseball, kind of was the reason why they had to exit the EOAC, but they were in the EOAC for 2 years, I think Chris Ziegler said. So renewing some rivalries and getting their last taste of the EOAC. But this is a Lisbon team that is 2-0.
It is a Lisbon team that's 2-0, and it's probably one of the toughest tests too that they've faced this year, talking about Toronto in the first 3 weeks as well. Lisbon's looked really good, but Toronto's handled their business against Wellsville and against East Palestine now, who both look like improved teams from a year ago. This is going to be interesting to see if Lisbon can handle business, defend home field, but this is a tough Toronto team, and I know they're going to give those Blue Devils all they can handle.
That lovely new turf in Lisbon deserves a win, right? Let's go Blue Devils. I can say that because Toronto's not a member of the YSN family yet.
There you go. There you go.
United will travel to Crestview. This is going to be a good game. Sneaky. I know it might not be the game everyone's talking about, but United will travel to Crestview. Alec Hancox will have the call for this one. When you look at it, Ty, and we were talking about it on the group chat this week, Crestview, especially their defense, is becoming kind of a measuring stick to some of our power ranking teams. And I think a lot of people are looking, especially me, I'm looking at not just how much United allows against Crestview, but how much do they score against Crestview? How much can this offense score against a Crestview team that has held Salem down and held Southern down to less than 20 points?
This is going to be, quite frankly, a defensive game. If you like defense, you should tune in to United Crestview tonight because it's going to be everything I think you ask for defensively in a matchup. Both these teams very strong, physical, big in the line positions, athletic in the linebacking and secondary. Both of them are. They're both going to be tough to score against. Offensive points, touchdowns will be at a premium tonight, I think. I think it's going to be one of those old school football matchups where you really appreciate the defensive skill that you're going to see on the field.
It's going to be very interesting to see what our voters do, including myself, if United runs away with this game.
It is. I'm still torn too. I haven't made my picks yet, and I'm still torn looking at this game as well.
Right.
This is, where do you go in this one? I know one team's 0-2, one team's 2-0. Like, but where do you go with this? Like, Crestview is probably one of the best 0-2 teams we have in YSN's coverage right now.
Like, what happens to these power rankings if United wins? Like, if they don't blow you, Crestview out, but if they score a lot of points, like, what happens then? Because this is the Crestview defense that Salem couldn't really score against, Southern couldn't really score against. If United comes in and just has an offensive output that is spectacular, what do we do with that?
There's 3 teams fighting right now in that EOAC, and Lisbon's kind of fighting to be that 4th team, but Valley, United, and Southern are fighting for that top spot. Lisbon's kind of that wild card sitting there too as a team that might be able to take it. But
yeah, Lisbon wins today. They're 3-0 too. Like, don't forget about the Blue Devils sitting there like.
And
I'm here.
I would put in if United beats Crestview, I don't know if that's as big of a win as if Lisbon beats Toronto right now. Because that Toronto team is real deal. It's serious business right now. They're
I can agree with that, like, especially since Toronto has already beaten 2 of your conference opponents.
Yeah,
So if you go in and beat them, then
it's an interesting. It's an interesting.
Like I said, if you close out Crestview, you can look at Southern if you're United and be like, "Hey, 12-7, what were you doing?"
Yeah. I mean, definitely depends on how you win ball games as well, not just the end factor.
To talk real quick on Crestview's side, man, their defense is legit. Their defense has kept them in both games that they were in. Rockland Batura has been a workhorse. They just need to find a little bit more dimension in that offense. And like I said before, I'm a believer in Kirkland Miller. We saw him take a rebounding role a couple of years ago in basketball due to some injuries on the floor. And, they had to kind of instill Kirkland Miller and say, you have to be the team leader in rebounds. And it took him a minute, but he went and did it. Like, he went and became one of the best rebounders, not just on the Crestview team, but in that MVAC conference. So I believe that he will put in the work, he will put in the study time, he will listen to his coaches, and he will figure out how to become an effective quarterback. He's only played in 2 games. I'm a believer in Kirkland Miller. I think they'll figure it out. But if he just figures it out even a little bit and gives a little bit of pressure off of Rockland Batura, that kid's good enough to just run away with games if you don't have to focus 9 guys on him.
Yeah, and I mean, imagine exactly what these teams can do. That's going to be the biggest question then going forward. I'm excited to see overall what we're going to see from this matchup as well, too. It's going to be a good measuring stick game as well for defenses.
Another EOAC team on the road is Valley Christian will go to McDonald. Anthony Malone will have the call, and they're not going to McDonald's for fries. They're going to McDonald for football to play a pretty tough McDonald team coming off a big win against Columbiana, a defensive, physical McDonald team. And it's a high-flying offensive juggernaut for Valley Christian.
Yeah, there's no clowns in this McDonald program. They're going to clown on you, too, and if you come in with that mentality as well. So
you know what? I opened the door for that pun.
Yeah.
I'll take responsibility for it.
The Eagles are definitely a team that have looked really good the first 2 weeks, and McDonald, I think, bounced back in a huge way after that week 1 loss to Southern, beating Columbiana the way they did. I think they showcased what McDonald football is all about again, that kind of defensive mindset of we're just going to make sure you don't score more than us. I mean, we'll put up the points we need to put up on offense, but you just won't score more than the points we put up. And that's exactly what McDonald did.
And,
they stopped.
I know this is going to be a surprise to people, but that's how you win football games.
Yeah. Like, I mean, defense is definitely McDonald's MO. It's been one of their MOs too. It's been one of their strong points the last few seasons, and it's definitely a strong point going into this season. It's going to be a tough defense for Valley Christian to play against, but Valley Christian has looked really impressive, like I said, these first 2 weeks, putting up some massive amount of points first couple of weeks, and they're definitely going to be looking to do so again, but I'd venture to say maybe the toughest defense that Valley's had to play this year.
We talked about Toronto making the EOAC trip. Well, McDonald's completing it too. This will be their 3rd consecutive game against the EOAC opponent as they have played Southern and Columbiana and now Valley Christian.
1-1, and that Columbiana team's always solid, so they're going to play another one of the tops in the EOAC.
7 o'clock kickoff again, and Anthony Malone will have the call for you there. Next, we have Villa Angela St. Joe's at East. David Williams going to be making the trip to East at Rand Stadium for the call there. And you'll look at this East football team. They were right there, right? They were right there last week. This is a much different VASJ team coming into town, though.
Yeah, and you know what? This is a team, too, because Hubbard, it's kind of tough with the teams that they've played. I don't know. I don't really know what to expect from Hubbard this season. Cleveland Shaw's another one of those teams I don't know a ton about. So this is an East team where they've looked really good on defense the first 2 weeks, but this is a different animal in Villa Angela St. Joe's. We know this team perennial. They pushed Oakland last year and gave them everything that they could in a regular season matchup. They're 1-1 going into the season. I know they lost a bit, but always a solid program. But this is one of those games, too, where it will certainly open up some eyes and make me a believer in East defense if they can hold Villa Angela St. Joe's tonight. If they can hold them defensively, too, and keep that score under the 30-point threshold, keep them in the 20s, too, winnable position for the Golden Bears, I'd become a believer in East defense going forward for sure.
Oh, I'm right with you. We'll move on to Warren JFK traveling to Garfield. This was a good game last year. between the G-Men and the JFK, and it was the only game that the Garfield G-Men lost in the regular season, all the way up until their loss to Kirtland in the playoffs. This is a big test for Garfield. It's probably the biggest test so far of the year for JFK too.
This is going to be an interesting matchup as well because, I mean, both these teams really good, really solid, really physical teams that are going to go out there and give you all that you're worth going forward. And I'm excited to see this one too. Garfield especially going 2-0, but Warren JFK, they're ranked number 1 in Region 25 in Division 7 too, with wins against Champion and Delta the first 2 weeks. But I don't know, Ant. This is a team that Garfield, they looked really good defensively. They've allowed 19 points in 2 weeks.
I just thought of this. Last week was the battle of airport and airline. This one's the battle of U.S. presidents.
Yeah, there you go. It is, though. For sure it is. And honestly, you look at this matchup too. Last year, I think you had it flipped too, and Garfield was actually the winner 28-14.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Garfield was the only regular season loss for
both
JFK.
Garfield and South Ranger, I remember, was G5. They were both undefeated, and they were both ranked in the top 4 a year ago.
Catch. Thank you so much for catching
But
that.
28-14, Garfield had lost a little bit from last year, but they're always a good football program. But JFK, they have revenge on the mind going into this season, and they definitely want to come away with a big victory and go 3-0 in the opening slate.
This game will be on Boxcast. You'll be able to go to our live games page and click on this game. You'll be able to see the window for Garfield's Boxcast feed, but there is the got to remind everybody that it is not a YSN affiliated broadcast. So kind of like the advisory before this show, like whatever is said does not necessarily reflect the views of Yoakley Scott Corporation. That is the same with the Boxcast. It is just we are facilitating that broadcast. We are giving you the link, but it is not our announcers or our company broadcasting that game.
It's always good to give an extra little advisory notice, but should be
just a quick reminder. They do a great job. They never step out of line, but just a very quick reminder to our fans that is Boxcast, not YSN. West Branch will travel to Revere, and Michael will have the call for this one, 7 o'clock kickoff time. The Warriors, man, did they put on a show last week? I think people were like, oh, maybe the Warriors, maybe they're taking a step back, and then they were like, hey, wait a second, we played Canfield, and we lost 35-31. Chill out, everybody. And then they went on and they destroyed a Woodridge team. They gave them a heck of a fight last year.
This is going to be a tough team, I think, for Revere going up against West Branch. I'm talking from Revere's point for the Minutemen, honestly. And I think that the Minutemen are, I think, a perfect, I guess, reference to what Revere's going to need to do against West Branch is burn that time off the clock, because
they're going to have to get their lanterns ready because West Branch is coming by air and by sea and by land.
That's the thing is, like, in this game for Revere, they're going to need to win time of possession because West Branch can score so quickly and do it in a multitude of ways. Drew DeShields is such a good quarterback. And, I mean, that's going to be the case, I think, in this one. I think West Branch goes in as favorites in this one, honestly.
What is it? 1 if by land, 2 if by sea, 3 if by air, 4 if by holy crap, they're just too good to stop.
They're doing a great job, West Branch is, and they're ranked 10 in their region right now as far as Joe Idell is concerned, and where their rankings for computer points are. They want to definitely be up.
They're going to keep climbing.
Yeah, they definitely want to keep climbing.
So they'll battle Revere on the road, and we'll have the call for that one on the road. And Western Reserve will travel to Brookfield. Alec Caberna and Matt Morrison, going to be the call, the voice of the Brookfield Warriors. 7 o'clock is the kickoff time for this one. Western Reserve, heartbreaker last week. They are 1-1 on the season. So is Brookfield. So who's going to assert their dominance? I think Western Reserve has looked a lot more balanced than they did last year. I know they had lost David Altier, but now they're starting to throw the ball a lot better than they did last year, and they're starting to really be a more balanced offense.
They absolutely are, and I'm excited to see this matchup too, because I think Western Reserve has some pieces too that can give Brookfield a little bit of trouble. But I'm also excited to see the Pulaskis go against across the MVAC against one of the best of the Scarlet side too. This should be a fun matchup.
But Brookfield's a tough bunch, and they're coming off a really monumental win against Springfield. I know that meant a lot to their players. It's going to give them a lot of momentum. But the one thing I worry about after the big wins like that is how do you handle a challenge the very next week? Are you too high on that win? Do you give Western Reserve the respect and the effort and the attention they deserve?
It's gonna
we'll
be.
Have to see. You never know with kids that are 14 to 18 years old if they're going to handle that, right. So,
and I tell you what, Western Reserve is pissed off about the way last week ended, and they want a win in a bad way, in the worst way coming into this week. So you're going to get a hungry, pissed off Blue Devil team if you're Brookfield tonight. And I mean, for Brookfield, you got the home crowd behind you, so it's going to be a little bit easier to take all that in. But just know that Western Reserve is mad about the way last week ended. They definitely want to come in and try to get a big win this week.
This is Brookfield's home opener, I believe. I think the game last week was at Springfield. So Ederson at Springfield, home opener tonight against a really good Western Reserve team. And this should be one of the more competitive games of the evening, I think.
Yep, should be.
The last game that'll be on the schedule tonight as far as being broadcasted is going to be Columbus Linden McKinley. Say that 5 times fast. And they will be at Beaver Local. Mike McKenzie will be on the call. Beaver Local looking for their first win of the season. And Ty, I got to be honest, I don't know anything about Columbus Linden McKinley. I don't know what they bring to the table. I know the Beavers are hungry for a win, and you don't want to mess with a hungry Beaver.
I mean, you look at what Beaver Local is doing too. I mean, they've had moments too in each of the last few weeks where they've looked really good. They looked good at points against Indian Valley. They looked good at points against Salem. But now you're going into a team in Linden McKinley that is 1-0 on the season. They won 45-0 against the West Cowboys from Columbus, Ohio, Division II opponent that is 0-2 on the season. But they also had their last 2 games canceled against, they were supposed to have a game on the 25th against Afrocentric Early College. You want to talk about saying something 3 times fast. They had that game canceled on the 25th. And then they were also supposed to play last night on the 1st for a Thursday game against Millersport that also got canceled. And then Beaver Local picked them up. So this is a team that hasn't played in a few weeks. That Beaver Local, I don't know, man. I know you lost the last 2 weeks, but Beaver Local having Salem still fresh in their mind, playing them recently, I think it might help out the Beavers going into this matchup.
Remember that cartoon Angry Beavers?
Yeah,
that's Beaver Local right now.
They're not satisfied with the way that they've started 0-2, either against losing to Indian Valley and losing to Salem. They definitely want to get on the right track going into week 3.
And we still have some games that are happening, the late additions to the schedule. The schedule changes. They won't be on the network, but we do want to shout them out as happening. Mineral Ridge, a really good Mineral Ridge team that has outscored opponents, I think, like 83-14, something wild like that. They will travel to Newton Falls, who is coming off that tough 3-point loss to Jackson Milton at 1-1 on the season. Champion, they had a heartbreaker last week against Rootstown. They will try to bounce back on the road, same conference as they travel to Ravenna Southeast. What do you think about those 2 games? I know I just went over 2. Middle Ridge Newton Falls, I think, is going to be a pretty good game. I mean, Newton Falls has a ground and pound offense. They will slow the game down, and they have a pretty good defense that held Jackson Milton to 16 points.
I'm starting to become a little bit of a believer in Tristan Valley at quarterback, though, for Mineral Ridge. And I tell you what, if there's kind of that one team, I know everyone's talking about so many other teams in that Scarlet side of the MVAC, but I don't know, man. I'm eyeing up Mineral Ridge over there, the Rams. And if you want to tell me who the wild card is, or you want me to tell you who I think the wild card is in that conference, I think hands down, I'm going to pick the Rams right now. The way they looked the first 2 weeks, they've looked good. This was another tough test for them too, especially considering another conference rival and Jackson Milton just got a win against Newton Falls. It'll be kind of like a nice measuring stick if Mineral Ridge can go in there and get a win right before conference play opens up. But I know everyone's talking Lowville. I know you got to talk Springfield. You talk McDonald. You talk Western Reserve. But Mineral Ridge, man, They're not just a volleyball team, I think. They've got to look at that football squad this year. They're definitely a wild card.
I'll tell you what, this NBAC Scarlet tier, I don't think people came in expecting it to be as interesting as it's looking at coming into week 3. I mean, a lot of those teams have gotten off to really good starts. Jackson Milton, 2-0, looking really impressive. Middle Ridge, 2-0, looking really impressive. Lowville, 2-0, looking really impressive.
Good.
Can't ever count out Springfield. And then you have Western Reserve that looked really good in week 1 and then lost a heartbreaker in overtime in week 2. So that's 5 teams that have looked pretty darn impressive through 2 weeks.
I've seen a lot of good quarterback play too for these smaller schools for this MVAC Scarlet tier too. And I love to see that these quarterbacks too. It's not when before, when you got into like the Division 6, 7 football, it was a lot of what you see in like Ashtabula County around here, where it's that kind of old school mentality.
Yep.
Yeah, ground and pound, wing tee, like you said. Use that the 3 downs too. Go by 3 downs too, 3 yards a carry if you need to, and get first down. Extend that clock, right? But teams now are evolving throughout all divisions, and we're seeing guys like Giavi. You talk from Jackson Milton. You talk guys like Tristan Valley from Mineral Ridge. I mean, these are guys, quarterbacks that are huge. Vinny Balone, obviously from Lowville. I'll mention him again, but I feel like we mention him all the time too. He needs no mention. He does big things over there in Rocket Country. But Vinny Balone, of course, is kind of
only has 14 touchdowns right now.
Yeah, he's only set the tone the last few years, I think, as quarterback play. Kind of
averages 7 touchdowns per game.
Like Bo Brungard, Vinny Balone have like been that forefront of setting the tone of what the quarterbacks need to be at the top of this conference, and you're seeing everyone follow suit. And I love the quarterback play we're seeing from all these teams, Mineral Ridge included.
Another game for tonight is going to be Southern traveling to East Canton. We saw East Canton last week against United. The Eagles handled them pretty well. So Southern trying to make a road trip and end their non-conference play with a win on the road at the Hornets' Nest.
This trifecta, and now maybe including Lisbon, but this trifecta of United, Valley Christian, and Southern are just like constantly throughout the season, I feel like, all just playing that song, anything you can do, I can do better. And they just do it. They do it every week. So Southern's going to go into this week trying to top what United was able to do against East Canton. And Southern wants to send that message right back to United to say, oh, yeah, don't worry. We're right here. We're ready for you come that year.
United wants to top what Southern did against Crestview.
Exactly.
Right? Like, I mean, come on. Like, Southern scored 12 points. United wants to go in there, kick the door down, score 35, and look at Southern and be like, yeah, come on.
This is going to be fun. I'm excited for it too. EOAC. There's a lot of teams in all these conferences that are going to go into non-conference or into conference play undefeated, and that's always exciting.
We said it earlier, but Niles picked up a game yesterday around 2:00, right after we went off the air on Running Point. They will travel to Independence. 7:00 is the kickoff time for that one. Really good to see the Niles Red Dragons get a game because we want Antoine Gardner to always be highlighted. He's one of the best running backs in the area, and he's going to get another chance to kind of prove it in week 3.
Should be fun, too, to see him on full display as we root for the Red Dragons to bring home a win going down to Independence.
Yeah, wreck that Independence Hall.
Flex on
Be
them.
the bad guys. They don't want no independence.
Flex on them, for sure.
Waterloo will be the last game on the slate tonight as they travel to Malvern, a team that, once again, we've seen before. Malvern's a solid football team. They beat East Palestine earlier in the season. And Waterloo's going to have a tough task, but they actually looked pretty good in week 2, too.
This is a winnable game, I think, for Waterloo, honestly. I mean, you saw the way East Palestine pushed Malvern, and you look at that, too, and you see where Waterloo was last week, looking really good against Strasburg Franklin. You say for the Vikings, we might be able to go 2-1 in the non-conference slate before conference play opens up. And, hey, that's not a bad situation if you're Waterloo. One thing I would say, too, after United's offense looked really, really good last week, Waterloo's defense didn't do too bad of a job against them week 1 then, looking at that in comparison, too. So that might be something, look to get that improved, look to make it stronger. But they also scored 40 points last week talking about the Vikings. So I think a winnable game for Waterloo, but they're on the road, so it's going to be a first road test of the season for the
There
Vikings.
is one more game happening, and talking about a road test, it's over 2 hours away. Lowville picking up the game with Greenwich South Central, all the way in Greenwich, Ohio, which is, I think we looked it up when this game came out. It was like 2.5 hours away.
So
It's a road trip.
Going to be leaving here in about 45 minutes to
They
make
might
sure.
have already left. Like,
yeah, they might already be en route to the game.
So they will take on South Central on the road. They had to pick up a game because Wyndham had to back out of week 3. So
Injury related, not COVID related. Too important to note.
we had 3 games get canceled for 3 separate reasons. Me and DJ were talking about that. Like, we had 1 game get canceled because of COVID in Minerva. We had 1 game get canceled because of just injuries and availability, and then we had the Niles game canceled because of the teacher strike. So it's crazy. It was been a crazy week, but all those games kind of got replaced with Niles being the last one to get a new opponent.
Props to Niles too for figuring it out. We were kind of just like, is there going to be a game this week? And they were like, teacher strike ends. AD was like, all right, let's get a game. And then got a game immediately. And credit that, because Red Dragons are going to be playing football this Friday, not having to miss a beat on their season.
United, we're getting United played most of their starters for just 1 quarter against Waterloo.
They did play a decent amount. They did rotate a lot of players, did United too, especially at quarterback position. They rotated, I think, 3. They're 3 guys that they were having as fighting for starter position before.
So that goes into Friday. We do have a couple of football games and a couple of other events on the network tomorrow. We'll go into that real quick. Ursuline will travel to Farrell. CJ Strodes and Noah Doty will make the trip over to PA. And another good test for the Irish.
Should be interesting, too. Irish have looked really impressive first couple of weeks. Offense has really been putting in the work. Got a chance to do it again, too, across the state lines.
First road test for the Irish. They have been in the friendly confines of the Ice Castle the first 2 weeks, and now they will have to make the trip on the road to take care of a Farrell team.
Should be fun. Feral. they're
feral
dogs.
Yeah, they're definitely feral.
This feral team. It's just like some wild team that they just pulled out of the woods that Ursuline's gonna play. Like, that's what I thought of when you said this feral team.
They're all foaming at the mouth.
Yeah, it's just like it's just like a wild team.
Oh my gosh. Also on Saturday, Woodward will be traveling to Edison at 1 p.m. for the start time there. So we wish Edison good luck. They're trying to go 3-0. They have outscored opponents, I believe, it was 83 to 8 because they got the 41-0 win last weekend.
Can't speak highly enough on what Coach Colopy is doing, continuing to build that program over there, doing big things with more than one sports program as well.
We'll also have 2 volleyball games on the network on Saturday. McDonald traveling to Canfield. A big game for the Cardinals that have really struggled out of the gates to kind of find traction. Definitely a tough schedule. They've played no one but teams that are on the power rankings or would be if they were YSN schools. And they play another power ranked team in McDonald coming off a big win over Western Reserve earlier this week. So it's not easy treading for the Cardinals. They have another chance to try to up their stock a little bit as they host McDonald. I will be there. It's going to be a 12 o'clock first serve from Canfield on the volleyball court. Also on the network on Saturday, Claymont will travel to Beaver Local. Michael McKenzie will be on the call there. If you're a fan of Cardinal Mooney, they are hosting Struthers. Well, actually, I don't know if that's happening. Struthers has canceled a couple of games in a row. So maybe not. I'm gonna
plenty of soccer matchups though that are happening as well too. So
yep, we go into soccer real quick. We'll go into soccer real quick. Boys soccer, United will travel to Heartland Christian, and we'll have Boardman at Crestview, which should be a really good soccer game on the boys' side. And they will play. It's a JV and varsity doubleheader. So Boardman and Crestview will have a full day of soccer. Varsity starts at noon. On the girls' side, it'll be Crestview at Boardman for girls action at 2 o'clock.
So
and then Badger will travel.
Crestview's at Boardman.
What?
Boardman boys are at Crestview, or Boardman. Yeah, Boardman boys are at Crestview. Boardman girls are home against Crestview or hosting Crestview.
Badger will travel to Ursuline to round out the Saturday slate. 6:30 is the start time there. And there'll also be a Mahoning Valley Scrappers game at 7:05 on Saturday as well, as they have their last home weekend of the season.
There's soccer, baseball, football, volleyball, everything you can ask for too on a weekend here on YSN.
We go to Sunday real quick. The Mahoning Valley Scrappers will finish that homestand and finish their last home series of the regular season against West Virginia at 2:05 on Sunday.
Speaking of the soccer coverage too, we had a nice night too. If you haven't been watching too, Wednesdays have been huge for it. 4 soccer matchups that were on for Wednesday's slate this past Wednesday too. So if you're a soccer fan, there's definitely been more games that have been popping up on the network. Be sure to check out our page, ysnlive.com/live, every day as it gets updated to see what matchups are on for all of your sports.
2 huge wins on that soccer night too, because we had Waterloo beat Springfield for the first time in a while, and then West Branch beat Canfield for the first time in a while. And that one was big for West Branch because Canfield knocked them out of the tournament on penalty kicks, and that had to be just a huge gut punch to everyone on that team.
For sure. So a little
Penalty
bit of revenge that could taste so sweet, especially early in the regular season.
They beat them 4-1. Both of them won emphatically. West Branch won 4-1. Waterloo won 9-2. It was emphatic wins on both sides. So impressive soccer night on Wednesday. And like you said, there were 4 soccer games. I think that was one of the nights where soccer actually beat volleyball as far as coverage on the night.
We love to see it too. We want all of our sports competing for that coverage too, and we love and thank all the announcers that are out there doing it and putting in the work too, as we're seeing plenty of announcers pick up extra sports, and I love to see the coverage it's getting.
Hi, real quick before we get out of here, let's see. We have a comment on the comment page.
We also want to just the full disclosure. There's no guarantee this is actually Aaron Moser. Anytime you deal with these YouTube things that are just plain A's,
I don't know. It's just an A.
Yeah. So like we don't know if that's AMO. So I don't.
A stands for anonymous.
Yeah. We also want to make sure before it's confirmed too that no one's speaking on AMO.
We've had people impersonating our announcers before.
For sure. And we also don't want to make sure nothing's said on Amo's behalf that he's not actually saying either. So make sure we take that with full disclosure.
Who would do that?
Full disclosure going forward. Should be fun though, as a bunch of matchups that are going to be on the network tonight. We got volleyball in store for you tomorrow. And as always, check out ysnlive.com/live for your daily matchups in local sports.
Ty, before we get out of here, what is one matchup other than yours and Austintown Fitch that you're really looking forward to, either watching when you can or popping in the result for?
I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on. I've always kind of been looking at. There's 2 that I really wanted to go with, but I'll wait until you answer yours. I'll pick my first one. The first one initially, Cheney Mooney. After seeing Mooney last week and seeing what Cheney's done on film the last couple weeks too and on the network, it's that old school rivalry again. It's that Steel Valley rivalry, that old City Series rivalry that you got between Cardinals and Cowboys, and I'm excited for it. Cheney's actually been on the winning end of this matchup last couple times. Cardinal Mooney wants to get their revenge, and they looked really good last week. They also looked good defensively against Boardman. Offense is going to be the question for Cardinal Mooney. For Cheney, you said it earlier, and too, can they get out of their own way again and make sure that they don't beat themselves?
My game to watch tonight is going to be, honestly, it's the one that I think a lot of people dismiss because it's not exactly quote-unquote local. It's Jefferson and Edgewood.
That was my other one too, and I was going to wait till you said it because that's the other one I want to make sure that gets some love. I was at Cardinal Mooney last Saturday, so I saw the Cardinals, but I also saw this matchup last year too. And I mean, the atmosphere that these 2 teams and these 2 schools bring is so fun too, and you'll get to see how they do it up in Ashtabula County. It's going to be a great matchup. This time it's at Edgewood though, so this one's going to be real fun.
4 undefeated teams. They're 4-5 in the region. There's a lot on the line. You can look back on this game towards the end of the season, and it could be the difference between a spot in the playoffs. Who knows? But it's going to be an important one, not just for the rivalry, but also in the grand scheme of things. So I'm really looking at that one. United Crestview is going to be a good one too. I think another good one tonight that is going to be one to watch. Bowling Camp. I mean, you always have to watch that.
I mean, yeah, you got to shout that one out always.
Lakeview Liberty, both teams. I think Lakeview is back. Can Liberty shake off a big loss? I think that'll be impressive. What's this? Oh, the one is not on the network, but I think it's really intriguing. Mineral Ridge at Newton Falls. I'm interested to see how that one goes.
I am too, because if Mineral Ridge gets this win, I'm really gonna start thinking about that Rams team going into this conference. They're gonna be riding with a lot of momentum, and I'll be excited to see those conference battles too, because now you got guys like Chiave, you got guys like Balone. We could have some quarterback battles now in the NBAC that don't include the names Brungard and Balone exclusively, like we've seen the last couple years.
So it's going to be a fun night. Make sure to tune in. All the games are free. Go to ysnlive.com/live. Find the game you want. Scroll past the sponsors and hit play. That's all you have to do. If you want to watch all the games and check in on all of them at once, make sure to tune into the Audible call with Mike Eccleston at 7 o'clock, where we flip from game to game to game and try to get you to as many of the games as possible, and also key in on the competitive ones as the games go into the night. Casual Sports Podcast coming up next from 2 to 3. Power Hour with a bunch of guys. It is the Super Show. On the Power Hour, where you'll learn where everyone is kind of picking and where they think these finals will land on the Power Hour. And then of course, all the games going on tonight. Kickoff starts at 7 o'clock. So does the Audible call. And then the Joe Dickey Electric Scoreboard Show afterwards, where you might see Ty. He's been popping in from now and then. You might see Ty on the Scoreboard Show. You might see some of our other announcers. Who knows? Maybe a coach, maybe a player. We like to pop in whoever we can.
Any
Joe Dickey Electric Scoreboard Show.
Any chance I could talk to Mike Eccleston's always a great chance as well.
I know.
And by the way, too, as far as our picks, I'm going to have to make them, too. Wellsville, I picked you last night, too. No one else, the pick sheet wasn't open, so this game wasn't on there because it was a Thursday matchup, but I picked you last night. I texted Richie, and I was like, I don't see the pick sheet, but I'm taking Wellsville in this.
I want proof. Richie, show me the proof. Show me the picture. Send me the text.
Rolling with you, too. Good win last night. We're rooting for all of our
I've competed with Ty. I don't trust his picks. He changes the rules.
Yeah, changes the rules. Best of luck to all of our YSN teams, though, facing non-conference opponents tonight. Come out with wins yourself, as well as the Wellsville Tigers kind of set the tone for that last night. Let's get some more wins.
Real quick, we have time. I want to give a shout out to Storm Tracker 21 and check the weather update for tonight's football matchups. It's going to be a beautiful night for football. At 7 o'clock kickoff time, 83, a little bit of cloudy coverage. By the end of the game, it should be, getting into that mid-70 realm. So it'll be comfortable but warm for your Week 3 football game. No rain in the forecast, so that's always a good note. And we want to thank Storm Tracker 21 for always keeping us updated on the weather. For Anthony Hartwig, Ty Bartell, we're taking a 70-hour break. We'll both be back on Monday to recap all the weekend's action and have some fun with you on Monday's episode of Running Point. Once again, Casual Sports Podcast coming up next, then the Power Hour from 3 to 4, and then a bunch of football on the network tonight. Don't miss